Thank you for cooperation. Where are you from?
I'm from the US and the Netherlands.
Do you live in Japan?
I don't live in Japan. I'm currently living in Rotterdam, the Netherlands.
You come here for a trip?
Yeah, so I'm just traveling right now. So I'm doing a big China trip right now for 4 months, but I came to Japan to reset my visa, mostly.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a student, but I was a data analyst before. But now I went back to do my master's in the Netherlands. So I'm finishing it up mostly remotely. So I'm traveling while just studying.
Is this your first time to come to Japan?
No, this is my second time to come to Japan. So I studied here in 2018, 5 years ago. So I did like a Japanese immersion program for a summer for 4 months. And I've been trying to come back since, but COVID keeps getting in the way. So this is my second time to finally make it back here.
Why did you choose to study in Japan?
So for my university, I had to choose a foreign language to study. So my choices were French, Spanish, and Japanese. So I had studied French in high school and I hated it. And then in high school, I also started watching anime. So I got a little more familiar with listening and hearing Japanese. So I really started liking it. So I decided to study Japanese. After I started studying it, then I started really enjoying it and liked it more. So I kept progressing and continuing it. So I decided to make my minor Japanese.
Studying Japanese is difficult for you?
I think the most difficult part is just like when studying the kanji, like that there's so many different kunyomi and onyomi for the kanji. And then the keigo I thought was very annoying and I thought it was kind of pointless. Same with the humble form. I did like a business Japanese course and I wasn't a fan of that because it's mostly just around like the honorific and humble type of Japanese language. For the rest, I thought the conjugation isn't that bad. The pronunciation is quite easy. Hiragana, katakana, of course, are very, very easy. I actually really enjoyed studying kanji in general and the characters. And that's why I decided to start learning Chinese because sort of the same characters, but then Chinese for the most part just as one reading per character. So it makes a bit more sense.
I think Chinese are more difficult.
Well, I mean, I'm doing simplified characters, so that's easier. Of course, there are a lot more characters, but then you get a lot more recognition of it. So I would think it's easier, except for the pronunciation.
Can I check your Japanese?
Iyo.
You couldn't come to Japan for 5 years. So now you came here and this is your day one. How are you feeling now?
実は5年前、日本に勉強した時、その後、毎年日本に帰りたかった。でもコロナからもう一回帰れなかった。その後、あまり日本に興味なかった。今、中国の方が日本より興味があります。
なんでですか？
なんで？どうして？今、日本の社会と経済は decreasing 減る。
悪くなってる？
悪くなっている。でも今中国いいになります。
それが理由。
すみません。
What stereotypes about Japan do Dutch people have?
Stereotypes about Japan? Mostly that they're really clean and kind. I think that's the main stereotype, that people just really think Japanese are very clean.
Do you think it's true?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many stories of like going to an away game and then cleaning up the stadium afterwards.
What's your impression about Japanese people?
I think Japanese people are very kind, but they don't take a lot of initiative. I think they're very generous. Like you ask them to help, they will help you no matter what. Every single person will help you. But if you need help and you look like you need help, but you don't ask anybody, nobody will stop and help you. So I think the Japanese are very, very friendly. And like they don't do anything like that out of malice, but I think that is a lacking point on their part.
What do you think is the character of Dutch people?
Dutch people. Well, you have the term going Dutch, which means you each pay for your own part of the bill. So I think Dutch people are very stingy. They aren't very generous and very kind of cold and blunt. I think that's the main characteristics of Dutch people.
Is there any common thing between the Netherlands and Japan?
I don't know. I mean, I guess the Dutch are also quite clean, but they're both not very friendly, maybe. Of course, there's the joint history, but I don't think that made any like different cultural changes between them.
What things in Japan made you surprised?
don't know. Mostly when I'm traveling here, just like the lack of trash cans when I'm traveling around is very surprising. And then everything's so clean anyways. That's kind of surprising. Bit surprised how expensive the metros are. In general, how helpful people are. When you ask, like every single person I ask here, like is extremely helpful. Like if I ask directions, they'll like, walk with me for like 10 minutes to show me the way, Whereas other countries, like half the people will blow you off if you ask questions. But no, I think Japanese people are very, very kind and helpful.
What is something about the Netherlands you are actually proud of?
I don't know, the Netherlands works very well. Like it has like very great infrastructure, it works really well. The government is well structured. The people are very, very educated, have really good social programs. I think the Netherlands is a great country. It's just very flat and boring. So that's the only downside why people want to leave. Very small too.
What does it make boring?
I don't know, like there's not really that many like good like hiking opportunities, for example, or like you can't really do winter sport there. What else makes it boring? I don't know, the people are just not that friendly. Like that's kind of like, that is a big detractor, I think. Like when you go to other countries, you can easily befriend people on the street. But even when you travel like around other countries and you meet Dutch people, like you never have like that instant bond. You just kind of have like a cold interpersonal interaction of where you're from and then you kind of separate. So to a degree, I've made a handful of Dutch friends traveling, but for the most part, that's pretty accurate.
What countries have you ever visited?
I've been to almost everywhere in Europe except for Eastern Europe and a couple of the Balkan countries. I've been to US, Canada, Mexico, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Bahamas, so some of the Caribbean islands, all of East Asia now, a handful of Southeast Asian countries, so Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Turkey, and Qatar. So I haven't been to Africa yet, I haven't been to South America yet, and I haven't been to Oceania. So Northern Hemisphere, I've done quite a bit, except for Central Asia.
Comparing those countries you've ever visited, what point Japan can be number one?
What point in Japan? Probably food. I think Japanese food, like the effort they put into it, the Japanese cuisine is by far the best. So I really like Japanese cuisine.
What Japanese food do you like?
So much of it. It's all great. We just ate okonomiyaki, which is one of my favorites. I love sushi. I mean, even the donburi is fantastic. Lots of great foods.
You like rice?
I like rice. No, I could eat rice for every meal, definitely. Like I don't like bread. So just rice and meat and some sauce is the ideal meal.
You said you came from China.
Yeah, this morning at 5 a.m.
Did you see the difference between China and Japan?
Of course. No, huge difference. Just like from the cities themselves, like I think Chinese cities the centers are way more developed and like very higher tech. Whereas like if you go away from the center, then things get a lot more rural, very quick and less developed. Whereas in Japan, I feel like it's a bit more spread out where it feels like it is a more developed country overall. But then they are working with a lot, for the most part, lower tech. Food differences are quite a bit. I think China, they are more comfortable with eating a lot of scary foods, in my opinion. Chicken feet, chicken heads, duck heads, frogs. Whereas Japan, for the most part, I don't really think eats too much of that.
Are you married?
I'm not married.
What's your type?
My type? I used to date exclusively white girls. In the past couple years, that has shifted mostly towards Asian girls. I think I've just gotten rejected by too many white girls, and I gotten more positive feedback from Asian girls.
What do you think is your green flag?
Green flag. I don't know. The most important thing for me is like wanting to travel. Like I want to live all around the world, constantly travel a ton. Interested and willing to do a very nomadic lifestyle. Interested in a lot of different things, has a lot of hobbies, is ambitious, has lots of energy, not somebody lazy.
Okay, what are behaviors or actions of women that will turn you off?
Being extremely needy, very expensive, wanting just to go to, I don't know, expensive restaurants, expensive hotels, wanting to take taxis everywhere. For somebody like more chill, wanting to walk around, a lot of energy, explore different things, be spontaneous.
So have you ever dated with Japanese women?
I've been on dates with Japanese girls before. Yeah. But I haven't dated with them.
Did you see any difference between Japanese women and Dutch women?
I think the Japanese girls, for the most part, are a lot more reserved. And so you don't get to know them as quickly, as easily as other women. I think that tatamae kind of has a thing to do with it, whereas the first couple times you meet, you kind of just see their public face, and so you don't get to know them very easily, and they kind of seem less interesting.
Have you ever dated Chinese women?
I've also dated Chinese women. They are usually a lot more unique, and you get to know them a lot quicker. Kind of the opposite of Japanese girls.
Personally, you like Chinese women better?
Yeah, probably. So far.
What kind of people are popular in the Netherlands?
I don't know, girls that are very independent, kind of have their own life going, intelligent, knowledgeable.
What about men? Like in Japan, there is a kawaii culture, and like even men can be kawaii, like a boy.
I think that'd be a big turnoff in the Netherlands. The kawaii men, at least. Maybe the kawaii girls differently. I'm not sure.
Like masculine, tall, big, muscle guy.
I think in the Netherlands and in the West in general, I think like a big, tall, muscular person is seen as more attractive. How is it in Asia?
I think you're opposite.
The opposite. Like they're seen as unattractive.
Yeah, some
Okay.
people say that.
Okay, good for me.
Do you think Japanese people can be attractive in the Netherlands?
So Japanese girls definitely, I think would be attractive. I think for the Japanese men, like they'll draw a different subtype of women. Usually like a girl that's like into Asian culture, into K-pop, into anime, will be attracted to like a Japanese guy. Outside of that, I think it's a little bit tricky.
Because shorter and a little feminine.
Yeah, exactly. This trip, I'll probably be here for 2 weeks. I don't have my flight back yet, but I'll go back to Shanghai. So I'll go to Tokyo and Tochigi, maybe Aomori and Sendai, and then I'll head back.
Do you think one day you want to live in Japan?
I don't want to live anywhere. I want to be nomadic, but I think Japan could be one of my rotating nomad places.
Lastly, can you tell us the impression about Japan in Dutch?
Ja, ik vind dat Japan een hele fantastische land is. Het is heel schoon, hele aardige mensen, hele goede eten. En het treinsysteem is geweldig, de metro is geweldig. Het is heel verschillend dan in Nederland. Dus ja, overal. Ja, hele mooie land.
Dank je wel.
Graag gedaan. Tot ziens.